some poetry terms that you need to know. When we think about structure of a poem, we can think about closed form and open form. A closed form is a set expected form that a poem takes. For example, a sonnet or a sestina or a villanelle. These are all forms that have patterns that must be followed. The open form is a freer form. It is still often very structured, that the poet has thought about it, but it does not follow a set expected pattern. We have two types of poetry in general: narrative poems and lyric poems. Narrative poems are poems that tell stories. Lyric poems are short poems that meditate on a concept or an idea. When we think of a poem, we want to think of the speaker. We can also call this the persona. This is the person speaking the poem. Remember that it is not the same as the author. In many cases, poets will adopt an imagined character. Enjambment is the idea of a poem, what we want to pay attention to in the poem. It's the use of lines that run over. When you read a poem, do not stop at the end of a line. You will often see that there is no punctuation there, and that is because the sentence, the thought, has not finished. Tone is the attitude of the poet towards the topic of the poem. Pay attention to this. This is the emotional feelings, the things that the author feels towards it. Diction is word choice. Syntax is the order words are put in. In normal, usual English syntax, we typically have sentences that are subject, verb, object. A poet may invert those. We have an expected pattern for where we put adjectives and adverbs. Poets may invert those. Poets will often shift those into new places. We also want to think about figurative language. Your textbook defines it in the glossary at the back as a general term covering the many ways in which language is used non-literally. We have a number of figures, and these